Hi, welcome. This is Glenda Dawson, your host at Glenda's Dragon's Den. Hopefully, everyone had a good week. Now that the weather finally is breaking and we don't have that godforsaken heat wave, I have here in the studio with me my co host Ashley and my Dragon Wrangler LD. So, Ashley, how was your week?
Incredible. Way too much art. And this past Saturday, I just got back from a trip to Pittsburgh. So we handed out a lot of flyers for the radio station.
Good.
A lot of business cards for Glenda's Dragon's Den, Magical Creations.
There you go.
So expect to see more people in chat tonight.
Yeah, that's great. That's perfect. Thank you very much. I did a holistic fair in Plains, Pennsylvania.
Oh, wow.
Yes, I did a lot of readings. It went great. Everything was perfect. Still very energized from it.
Yeah.
So trying to just,
And if I'm a little loopy today, that's because the event was in Pittsburgh, and it was like same-day travel. So it was like 6 hours out, 6 hours back, and there was a festival in the middle, and I'm just like,
Yes. Of course. And how are you, LD?
I am. And that's as far as it goes.
Okay.
now he's getting existential.
Yeah.
Someone put something else in the jelly beans today.
CBD oil.
Which you can find at Glenda'sMagicalCreations.com. Go there today.
Oh boy. Here we go. We're set up. I would like to take this moment to apologize in advance, as my usual statement goes.
All right, all the slogans are out of the way. Now we can do the show.
Now we can do the show.
Ready?
We're ready. We have a very inspiring guest today, Larry Furtsch. Sorry. I'm tired. I'm really tired, so I do apologize. He is a healer, a shamanic healer, and welcome. How are you?
Thank you. Good to be here.
And how was your week?
Good. A little hot along the way, but...
Yes. Beginning of the week was still a little tingling. So
that's a nice way of putting it. I felt like I was dying. So I tried to not be outside as much as possible.
Yes. Yeah. I don't think, once you get used to that, that'll be okay. But the body isn't.
I don't want to get used to it. It's hot. And I get sticky, like my skin gets super sticky because there's like a light moisture and then just things attached to me. And I'm like, I don't want this.
That's global warming, so you better get used to it.
I don't want it. I hate it. I don't want it.
Come on. You'd like a nice tan.
No, I want to be a mushroom. I like my moonlight tan. I want to be pale again. I got freckle. I don't tan. I freckle.
Yeah.
I'm going to be a giant freckle. I hate it.
Okay.
So you want to be covered in dirt and have people feed you bullshit.
So another day ending in Y. I mean, why not have it just mirror my actual life then at that point?
There you go.
Alrighty, guys. Alrighty. So, Larry, how did you come about becoming a shaman?
Well, I've always been a healer. Mm-hmm. When I got out of college, I had a degree in social work. I worked on the Lower East Side of Manhattan as a social worker using traditional methods of counseling. And after about 8 or 9 years, I got really burnt out. It was living in other people's story, carrying all of the worst of humanity, and trying to constantly shake that off every day. It was too much, and I left that work behind me. I actually transitioned into computers, so I didn't have to deal with people at all.
There you go.
After several years, though, I found myself in Native American circles, doing sweat lodge ceremonies, learning my way around the medicine wheel and the teaching of Native American ceremonies. And through people there, I was gradually introduced into some South American culture and ceremonies.
Nice.
And I found the Four Winds, the Light Body School by Dr. Alberto Villoldo, and took one class just to see what it was like.
Right.
I wasn't expecting very much out of it. I was probably extremely pessimistic, but I figured I'd try it and see how it turned out, and I fell in love. It was taking these ancient traditions and translating them so they were acceptable and appropriate for modern Western society. So some of the old concepts of doing extractions where you're sucking things out of people are not very appropriate in an office set in the modern world.
Right.
And what Dr. Villoldo did is he translated many of those techniques into more modern ways of doing them with the same intention as had been done. And I found it invigorating and exciting, and it was a way of helping people and working through the same types of problems I'd seen before, but leaving the story behind.
Right. Okay.
So I ended up going through the entire Light Body School. I spent some time down in Chile and in Peru. I spent some time with the Caro shaman in Peru studying. I then did an apprenticeship in New York City with Itzhak Beery and Irma Star Spirit Turtle Woman. Itzhak studied in Ecuador and is very traditional techniques.
Okay.
And Irma does much more of the Mayan and Toltec teachings.
Nice.
So between them, I had the ancient teachings of how to do things, as well as the experience of how to interpret those into more modern, acceptable methods. So when I learned things like bone singing, using your voice to sing into the bones to help heal things or to clear chakras.
Right.
Wonderful concept on the banks of the Amazon, probably a beautiful practice.
Right.
Singing into somebody's heart chakra is a little personal and too up close.
Right.
Modern techniques of things like vibrational sound healing with tuning forks or singing bowls was almost an instant translation for me to find those other methods where I could use the techniques for the purposes they were intended and just vary the vibration.
Perfect. Perfect. Now you stated that in New York you went more traditional and then you learned Aztec way? Okay. Now, how do they differ?
Each culture uses the resources they have available to them.
Okay.
So when you're looking at the Caro who live in the high Andes, they have sticks and stones.
Okay.
A couple of llamas, some llama fat, but primarily they're working with sticks and stones.
Right.
So you're working with sticks and stones. You're blowing things into stones. You're creating bundles that you're burying in the earth to let Mother Earth digest them
And recycle.
them. Down in the Amazon, you're in a lush tropical jungle. You have a wide array of plants you can use at your disposal. You can mix different teas. You can use needles from trees to do things similar to acupuncture. You have gourds for making rattles. And so the actual process is very similar across all cultures.
Okay.
You're cleansing things off the body that no longer serve you, and you're replacing those voids that you're creating with love and light and a positive energy to help guide you forward.
Right.
The tools vary greatly, but they're just tools.
Right. Okay. I understand. It's kind of like in my traditions where everybody uses a different thing, but it's basically the same idea, same process. You just, some people use crystals, some people use herbs, some people use certain trees or plants. So it's basically the same thing. It's very fascinating that even within the same type of culture, you have different ways of doing things, and people don't realize that that is what happens even with all the different religions and beliefs. We all may practice differently and believe only certain parts of the belief system, even the dogma, even the Bible, for example. There's so many religions. It doesn't make any difference how or what you believe in. We all go back to the same place.
The base fundamental that I tend to break things down to is intention. And what is your intention in doing the work?
Exactly.
And if you can grab a tool to help focus your intention or clarify your intention in the work that you're doing, it makes it that much easier to hold your intention.
Right.
So if you have 2 bottles of liquid, and one you grab for cleansing, and one you grab for bringing in love and light, you don't have to think as hard because you've already set your intention when you've grabbed the bottle.
Right.
If you're only using one bottle, now you need your intention to be severely focused at the time that you're using it to see whether or not you're cleansing or bringing in love and light.
Very good. Very good. So true. So true. When we did Monday night, when we did my mediumship development class, I use different tools. I even make them use regular playing cards. I make them use pieces of paper. I make them go get books, whatever. And they all look at me and I'm like, this is just to keep what I call your monkey mind busy. You're getting your messages from the other side where it's calm and it's connected to a higher place or your higher self. So you just need to keep that one side of your mind. It's the same thing. It's your intention. Keep that one side of your mind busy, focusing on whatever is there. I even make them hold old jewelry sometimes. And they're holding it and they're like really concentrating on that. And then they're getting the messages because they're keeping what I call the monkey mind busy, which is the intention side.
The monkey mind is an interesting concept because most people, especially here in the U.S., think that we think with our mind, which they interpret as being our brain.
Right.
In many cultures, your mind is located in your heart. And that we do actually, there are neurons and brain cells in your heart.
Right.
And we do think with our heart. And very often, we also think with our gut.
Yep.
And a little lower.
Yes.
So it's balancing our different minds to where we're at.
Right.
And our monkey mind is probably the least helpful of all of them because it's easily distracted.
Yep.
And it tends to focus on things that have nothing to do with the path that we're on or what really fulfills us.
Exactly.
And when we drop into our heart center and we start finding our purpose for being here and what motivates us to move forward in life, what really satisfies and fulfills us.
Our passion.
And when we pursue our passion, our monkey mind disappears.
Yes.
It's not present.
Right.
When we're not on our path, our monkey mind finds ways to fill in all the time and space, pulling us off in all other directions where we don't want to be.
Right. Exactly. And that's why I always make it a point to occupy that when I'm teaching my classes, because this way they're focusing on that side of their brain is focusing on that, and then they could actually be their true selves and bring out their gifts and work on their gifts and see how they could flourish. And, you know, a lot of people say to me, well, I've never done this. And I said, okay, you don't have to. You have done it, but you don't even realize you have done it. So we're going to make you aware of it now. You know.
We all have beautiful gifts, and we all do things we don't recognize that we do on a daily basis. And we're told they don't exist and we shouldn't pay attention to them.
Exactly.
We all have probably had the experience of picking up somebody staring at us from across the room.
Oh, of course.
And we don't know how we feel that we're being stared at. And we all sense that in a different way.
Right.
Some of us, the hair stands up on the back of our neck. Some of us, we get a twinge. Some of us actually feel it.
Feel the eyes.
Drilling it. Yeah, it's an experience many of us have had.
Right.
How do we pick up on that? We have no idea.
Right.
And we've been told it doesn't exist.
Oh, yes.
When we were a little kid, we picked up that the stagnant spots in the room where energy didn't flow was under our bed and in the closet.
Right.
And there was all this heavy energy under the bed and in the closet. And our mind paints a picture of that heavy energy under the bed and in the closet. Mommy, there's a boogeyman in the closet. Okay. No, there's nothing there. Go back to bed.
Right.
Well, what we're picking up on are those heavy energies, those stagnant energies where there's no longer a flow in the room.
Exactly.
As we ignore those, we've shut down all of our gifts. But they come through and they bleed through. And the more you can turn off your monkey mind, the more those gifts reawaken and come through. And the more we perceive what's actually happening in the world around us.
Very true. And that's one of the reasons I do it. And I tell them all, you know, just relax. Don't doubt yourself, because that's the first thing they come, because, you know, everybody tells them, oh, you're crazy, or you don't know what you're talking about, and you're seeing things. Come on, there's nothing there. And I'm like, okay, but I see that one, and I see that one, and I see that one. Which one do you want to talk to? Right.
And we all see in different ways.
Right.
I've always been extremely jealous of people who actually see things, because I don't see visually.
Right.
I sometimes hear things. I sometimes get a sense of just knowing something is there.
Right.
And then I have to play 20 questions with myself to figure out, okay, there's something there. Is it male? Is it female? Is it old? Is it young?
Right.
And muscle testing to figure out what it is I'm sensing.
Right.
Sometimes it's energetically. I just feel it in my skin. And it's translating that into a visual image.
Right. Working with your
describe to somebody.
Working with your dictionary.
Working with my dictionary, working with my guides.
Yeah, which is different than my dictionary and my guides and all that. Yes. And people don't understand this. The more you allow that monkey mind to go to sleep, basically, as I say, the better you get at it. And it's the same thing. No matter what tradition you follow, you arrive at the same conclusions, really.
Yeah.
So we go on that note. We're going to take a quick commercial break. We'll be right back at Glenda's Dragon's Den.
Struggling to pay or haven't been making your student loan payments, listen carefully to this urgent alert. Have you been out of school for 10 or more years and you're still making your student loan payments? Are your student loans past due or even in default? Can't go back to school because of an old student loan problem? We can help you if you qualify. Your student loans can be taken out of default. We can stop the wage garnishments, stop the collection calls, and stop the seizure of your tax refund. Give yourself a break. Stop the stress and see if we can help you reduce your student loan payments. One quick 10-minute call could solve them right now. So call the Student Loan Helpline now. 800-731-7534. 800-731-7534. 800-731-7534. 800-731-7534. This is a fee-based document preparation service to help you access free government programs. Call for complete details. Not available in all states.
Looking for high-speed internet where you live but are out of reach of cable and fiber options? Look no further. High-speed internet is now available in your area, as your local authorized HughesNet retailer, Whole Home Connect, makes it easy to get the high-speed internet you need with blazing fast speeds, unlimited data with no hard data limits, with built-in Wi-Fi for as little as $2 a day. Act now and for a limited time, get free standard installation and free equipment with HughesNet from Whole Home Connect. You'll enjoy internet service that lets you do more of everything you want to do online, like shopping, surfing, and staying in touch. Call Whole Home Connect and see for yourself why HughesNet is America's #1 choice for satellite internet.
800-696-2871. 800-696-2871. 800-696-2871. That's 800-696-2871.
Have you written a book? You can become a published author with Dorrance Publishing, the nation's oldest publishing services company. Countless authors have trusted Dorrance for nearly 100 years to bring their book to the market. Our professional team will edit your text, design your book pages, and create an appealing, eye-catching custom cover. Plus, our authors benefit from a custom book promotion marketing campaign that makes your book available where people buy books, like Amazon and brick-and-mortar bookstores. So make this free call right now to claim your free author's guide to publishing. Don't wait another day. Take one step closer to realizing your dream of becoming a published author and seeing your name in print. You've already written a book, so the next thing to do is make this free call right now to Dorrance Publishing and get your free guide to publishing. Call right now.
800-847-1362. 800-847-1362. That's 800-847-1362.
Hey, this is Itzy Sweeney of New Morning Holistic Health Services, and you are tuned in to Glenda's Dragon's Den, where the wild and untamed meet on Wild FM.
Hi, welcome back to Glenda's Dragon's Den. I'm Glenda Dawson, your host, and with me I have Larry, who is a shamanic healer.
Not this Larry.
No, that's LD.
Yeah, no.
The one that we always say.
Yeah.
The reason I always say I apologize in advance, that's not him.
I'm the shaman. I'm the shaman healer.
You're the shame healer.
Yeah. I heal the shame.
Wow.
You get your power through shame. You generate a lot of it.
No, I suck the shame. I suck the shame
It's
out
a
of
choice.
people.
All right, we're reading that line.
It just, there you goes. So before we went on commercial break, we were talking a lot of similarities of our different practices. Among shamans or old traditional ways, are they different or the same way?
Okay. Let me start first by explaining how I'm using the word shaman.
Sure. Go ahead. Perfect.
Anthropologists look at shamans as any indigenous wisdom teacher or healer.
Good.
So it's not specific to any tribe. The word initially comes from Siberia, and it's very often associated now with Peruvian.
Right.
In Peru, they actually refer to their healers as Pacos.
Pacos.
I think that's Celestine prophecy derivative.
Yeah.
How it got tagged to Peruvian.
Yeah, and I look at it as any indigenous society, and I bring in a blend of many different traditions. I've studied with Bond healers, which is one of the sects of Buddhism, actually the oldest sect of Buddhism, and they have a map of the afterworld that they follow and a lot of healing teachings that they follow. some Taoist teachings, some Native North American teachings, South American teachings. I try to bring in a variety of different things because it gives me a bigger toolbox with a bigger variety of tools.
Definitely.
The teachings are all extremely similar from around the world. The tools differ.
Right.
But the basic teaching is if you have a small community where every member of the community is important and the community either survives or fails based on how well integrated that community is, you don't want to leave anyone behind.
Of course.
So you come up with techniques to help everyone get to be as productive as they can be. In modern Western culture, if somebody's not functioning up to par, we label them as disposable and toss them out of society. They're useless. What good are they and who cares?
Right.
That's not indigenous to any society that survives and functions correctly.
Right.
The society survives and functions because if you're okay, then I'm okay.
Right.
And if you're not doing well, how could I possibly be doing well?
Right.
So I need to take time out of my day to make sure what is it you need and how can I assist you. And through tens of thousands of years of helping a community sustain itself, they learn techniques for letting go of the things that we all tend to carry with us. The loss of a family member, disease, illness, physical, limitations. And how do you look at those instead of being a drawback to seeing the gifts that also come from it?
Okay.
Because as we do things differently, we view our world differently, and we receive gifts from our own unique perspective of the world. Some things force us to slow down and not move so fast.
Yep.
And at those times that we slow down, we take note of things that other people walk right past.
Yep.
And we can be in a place that we would have never been and met someone that we would have never met that provided an opportunity that changed our life.
So very true.
So instead of looking back at the problem, the problems disappear and we find the gifts.
Right.
When we find the gifts, we carry that energy forward. So we're carrying the positive experience forward. We're not carrying the negative energy forward because the negative energy is heavier and it becomes a burden.
Yes.
And it also tends to attract, like attracts like.
Right.
So it attracts other heavy energy and we become more and more burdened.
Yes.
So it's finding ways to release our burdens and free ourselves up to enjoy the opportunities and gifts that are presented to us. One of the other ways I've often heard it phrased is that the universe conspires to answer our prayers.
Yes.
The problem is the universe does not understand the word no. It does not understand the negative.
Right.
So if you're sitting there saying, I'm praying I don't get beaten, I'm praying I don't get beaten, all your energy is being put into being beaten. Because that's what the universe hears.
Let me cut in here for a minute, because this gets to a challenge I've had with the language of contemporary religion. The 10 Commandments. What's the first commandment?
Thou shalt not.
Yeah.
Not what?
Kill.
There are 10 of them.
No, but what's the first one?
Thou shalt not kill.
Yeah.
So we're basically setting the intention for violence.
Yeah.
It's not only setting an intention for violence. When you look at our society, people spend all of their time doing anything except living the life they were born to live. If you're spending 40 plus hours a week at a job that you hate and isn't motivating you towards your passion, you're not living life.
Right. You're
So it's
You're
not
making a living as opposed to creating a life.
right. And the reason we are, instead of looking at what we shouldn't do,
Right.
or what we can't do, or what we have to do, if you woke up every morning with what you wanted to achieve that day, what would fulfill and satisfy and be your passion for that day,
Right.
you'd find by the end of the day you're much closer to achieving it than if you don't set that intention in the morning.
And Glenda will probably validate that I'm very picky about language
Yes.
and
he is.
setting the
He is,
intentions
that is also confirmed.
and setting the intention for framing things in a positive intention. Because, you know, like we said,
Yeah.
that whole concept of thou shalt not, of guilt, of don't do that, is counterproductive to the spiritual resonance and frequency of what the universe is trying to facilitate, as I experience it. And it's refreshing to hear you, you know, as well validate that, because we didn't discuss this going in. So yeah, thank you. That's, you know, a very big point. And I honestly wish that organized religion would look at it and revise that instead of saying thou shalt not kill, thou shalt promulgate life.
Well, they keep revising in the other direction of that. Let's just say the heavier energies, it would seem.
Uh-huh.
It all went downhill since the Council of Nicaea. It was like 2,000 years ago.
Oh, God, dear Lord.
Biblical deep cuts here at Atlantis Dragon's Den.
Anytime you relate to spirit
Right.
individually, where you talk directly to spirit from your heart, it's a beautiful thing. When you start organizing it and getting more people involved and setting up more rules and regulations between that communication, you're limiting it or dumbing it down to the barest essential, because we each have a different relationship with Creator, with Spirit, with God,
Right.
whatever name you want to use. And it's a very individual connection. And finding the lowest common denominator that applies to everyone.
You're lowering your frequency.
Right, exactly.
And it can be dangerous because, in essence, they're trying to control the concept of God. They're trying to control how people perceive the concept of God so they can have control over other people in a way that they deem moral, upstanding.
And every religion is different. And they all have different ways that you have to go through to talk to God or to ask for forgiveness or to move in a certain direction. And
Well, how can I be better than you if I do things your way?
There you go.
if you're looking outside of yourself at anyone else's way,
Yep.
you're not walking your path.
Right.
And the guide to that personal experience, to that passion within your heart, can only be found on your path. So whenever we look outside of ourselves at anyone else, we're immediately being drawn away from our path.
You know, I have had an extensive involvement with being a mental health advocate. And through that, I never wanted to be a psychologist or a social worker, because as I understood it, that was someone else's concept of wellness that I then had to take the client and try and shove them into that box. And that never worked for me. And I actually found a school of coaching that basically said, never tell a client what they should do, because that's your life. Those are your values, that's your dogma, and you're not here to make the client fit into your concept of their fulfillment and their passion. What you do is you forward the client's objective, get out of the way, and essentially empower the client to live their life as long as they're not harming themselves or anyone else. You don't judge. And, you know, that was a beautiful thing for me. And I've had a tremendous amount of success in helping people to work along those lines. Whereas in the mental health community, you know, everything is driven by profit. Everything is driven by how many drugs we can prescribe,
Yep.
how much electroconvulsive therapy we can give a client before they suddenly just seize. And it was a major challenge for me. And I've even gone up and, you know, done platform work with the New York State Legislature where they wanted a client to sign off on their electroconvulsive therapy. And I'm like, first of all, from an electrician's point of view, where I also have some training, that's like doing brain surgery with an axe, because the current is going to flow in the path of least resistance. And if you knew what brain cells you wanted to kill, you wouldn't be able to get the current to flow that way anyway. And second of all, if a client could possibly benefit from such a barbaric practice, they're in no position to sign off on it. But, you know, people would look at me like I had two heads, and maybe I do. But that's not the path to self-empowerment.
There are 2 points that you mentioned.
Right.
One is you said that your goal in mental health is to get the client into this box. Who's defining the box? And when society defines the box, it's that everyone should have, you know, a 40-hour-a-week job and a car and a house and things that have nothing to do with that individual's passion or purpose here on earth.
I
But
hate
you're a
it.
social worker.
Yes.
Is that not the goal of mental health in the general practice?
The general practice of mental health is to make problems disappear, societal problems. So if there is a homeless person on the street corner, it's not helping that person improve the quality of their life and live their passion. It's making it so I don't have to see him walking to work.
Because then you feel bad.
So I feel bad.
Yeah. Just make it go away.
You mean while you're walking to work, not while they're walking to work. So,
Correct.
Right.
yeah, just
So the first thing is, how are we defining the box that,
Exactly.
that society is trying to put people in? And when you have your client defining their own box
that's dangerous.
based on their passion and their heart
Okay.
center, and helping them break that down into bite-sized pieces that they can work their way towards on their own. Because I must say, all the clients I've ever had, I've never helped a single one of them. They've helped themselves, or they've asked Spirit, and Spirit has helped them. My role in working with my clients is that of a hollow bone, to allow the information to flow, to sound back to them their own thoughts, to help be a guide along the journey that they are taking, and to help them reach the place that lives within their soul, within their heart center.
So when you say sound back to them, is that like, to use a school of psychology, a Rogerian type of modality?
Ooh, getting the big fancy words out. It's a $1.50 word right there. Rogerian.
Yeah, it is. We all need a sounding board. We all have these ideas in our head that sound fantastic when they're bouncing around in our head. And as soon as they come out of our mouth, we begin to realize that's not taking into account all of the different factors.
Well, but instead of sounding back, I'll give you an example of something that I felt was extraordinary. I had a client who came to me and he said, I want to run the New York Marathon next year. And so the discussion started with, okay, well, how many marathons have you run? None. Well, how much running do you do? None. So where do you think you need to go to start finding out how to qualify for the New York State. And leading him through that process, and when I say leading him, it was basically asking the curious question, which is sort of the hallmark of that school of coaching. He actually wound up running the marathon, and he wasn't a young man, it wasn't an old man, but I would say he was probably in his late 30s when he started this journey. But just through having him, playing that role where you're asking him, okay, so what do you feel the next step would be? And not being the sounding board, but just kind of, helping use SMART goals and helping him to focus and use his intellect and his capability to solve his own challenges. He had to fly back from France because he had relocated by then, but he wound up running the New York State Marathon New York City Marathon in a year. So yeah, I mean, a sounding board, I understand the concept of it. That's why, to me, that's sort of a Rogerian concept.
It's twofold, though,
right?
Because very often you have someone who has a goal, and we'll use the New York City Marathon.
Okay.
And we can break that down into steps and training and qualifying and all the things you need to do in order to run the New York City Marathon.
Right.
Why do you want to run the New York City Marathon?
But who are we to question that? Because they may know. I mean, don't get me wrong, it can be a valid question. But if they're already passionate about it, why question it?
Okay. One of the things that comes up very often is a lot of time people want to do things and strive to do things that are not their own. Those are thoughts or ideas that have been placed in them by other people and other experiences in society along the way, and it's not their passion. So you get people studying to go to medical school or to become a lawyer. That's mom's dream, that's not the kid's dream, but the kid's gonna do it because it's put there.
Well, the way...
And the questions I ask my clients, I don't need the answers for.
Oh, right.
They need
Of
the
course.
answers for. So it's a question for themselves as to what is the motivation behind this. And if you're looking at risk and reward in many situations, is there an easier way to get the reward with less risk involved? So if you're looking to run in the marathon because you want a sense of completion, of being able to finish a marathon, there are different marathons you could run in that would be much easier to qualify for and probably much more realistic times to run in.
Well, possibly, but again, to me, that's imposing my self-doubt and my value system, because where it generally starts from is, if you could do anything and succeed, what would you want to do? And from that it develops. And sometimes it's appropriate to say, well, where did you get that idea, or why is that important to you? But he was passionate about it, and he had to be passionate about it to qualify to run the New York Marathon in the year. And and he did all the work. I didn't lift a finger. He got a hold of the Roadrunners Association, and he went down those paths and found out exactly what he had to do to train and all of that. So, I think a lot of people, when you start questioning what they want, will kind of look at that as, well, maybe there's something wrong with what I want. And I guess that's a valid point if it needs to be.
And yet, I do it a little more like Larry does, where I not question it, but I say, give me your reasoning for wanting that goal, for wanting to get to that path, for wanting, because I want to make sure it isn't been put there by mom or dad or a friend or a drunk night that they all had too much to drink and whatever, and all of a sudden it sparks and they're like, oh, I want to do that, but
I guess what I do is I would say, well, what does that mean to you to achieve that?
Yeah, you just might use different language.
And
Right.
then it comes out as opposed to me saying, why do you want to do that?
But I don't
Why
say.
could you possibly
Well,
want to run the New York Marathon? I
That's-
mean, look at me. I'm a fat bastard. I could never run the New York Marathon.
No, but-
Why do you want to do
We
it?
could roll it. We could roll you.
You could roll me. If I don't know if you could roll me the whole 26 miles.
We could dress you up like the boulder from Indiana Jones, and then everyone else would be dressed as Indiana Jones, and then they'd be running away from you. Those would be
Everybody
rolling
runs
down the
away from me
street.
already, so that's counterproductive.
Excellent opportunity.
Every client is different.
Yeah.
Right.
Every situation is different.
Right.
So you work with each one. There is no script that you can follow
Exactly.
overall. Now, one of the things, and this is an example I'll use, somebody comes in and says, I want to meet somebody to travel with.
Mm-hmm.
What a wonderful goal.
Right.
If you travel, you'll meet someone who likes to travel.
Exactly.
So you can look at that from either way.
Oh, sure.
If you're waiting to travel until you meet somebody, you're going to be waiting a long time. If you move yourself ahead to travel, you will meet other people who enjoy traveling.
Yes.
Along the way, you'll have someone to travel with. So it's looking for statements within them that are creating the action in a positive way and putting the onus back on them where they're not waiting.
And here's the tricky part. All three of us are intuitive. So I think when all three of us sit down in front of the client, we know when we're being bullshitted. And, when it's not coming from a genuine source of purpose. And it's not that I would say that we have the right to take that and throw it. I mean, I would bill myself as an intuitive coach, just so it was out in the foreground. And sometimes my questions would, take that bent to it, Well, why do you feel the need to wait for somebody? And again, it comes from that curious place. But yeah, it's not scripted, and that's what I personally loved about it. That every client, was that individual, and in a society where I grew up, knowing which side of the hallway I was supposed to walk down, and what time milk and cookies was, obviously too many times, but I found it refreshing to have a modality where you champion the individual. And I think that when we champion the individuals and we honor each individual, there is a place for everyone in society. We call it a disposable society because we've decided that if it's a disposable society, then it's us and them again. It's just a different us and them. But I don't see anyone as disposable.
One of the ways I look at the world around us is that it is a very animate world, that there is spirit in everything. Spirit is everywhere. Spirit is in the table, in the mic, in the computer, in the walls, in the rocks, in the trees, and in each and every person. Now, if spirit lives in me and spirit lives in you, and you're treating someone else as less, you are disrespecting the spirit that lives within that person, and that is blasphemy.
Right.
That if you can see spirit as being present in that person and treat that person in the divine way that you relate to spirit, then we all get along much better, and we all would treat everyone as being that embodiment of the divine.
Yeah.
And no one is disposable.
And no one is disposable.
We all hold our place. Every piece of sand on that beach, every grain holds its place. And the beach would be different without any one of those grains.
Yep.
But I tell you, you're bucking the trend here.
Guys, that's a perfect time for a break. What do you think?
Yes,
Glenda?
it is. We'll be right back. Glenda's Dragon's Den.
I go to Diamond Cuts. Ain't no half cutting there. Oh, yeah. Woo. Man, at Diamond Cuts, their barbers got the freshest styles. Anything from fades, seasons, high tops, blowouts, shape-up, tape-ups, and much more. Their barbers can cut men, women, children, young and old. Stop by Diamond Cut at 144 Pocono Boulevard in Mount Pocono, PA. Or just call at 570-216-4912. Ain't no half cutting there, baby Paul. Yo, Stan, yo, Ant, yo, Black, yo, Light Skin, yo, E, where y'all at?
Have you written a book? You can become a published author with Dorrance Publishing, the nation's oldest publishing services company. Countless authors have trusted Dorrance for nearly 100 years to bring their book to the market. Our professional team will edit your text, design your book pages, and create an appealing, eye-catching custom cover. Plus, our authors benefit from a custom book promotion marketing campaign that makes your book available where people buy books, like Amazon and brick-and-mortar bookstores. So make this free call right now to claim your free author's guide to publishing. Don't wait another day. Take one step closer to realizing your dream of becoming a published author and seeing your name in print. You've already written a book, so the next thing to do is make this free call right now to Dorrance Publishing and get your free guide to publishing. Call right now.
800-847-1362. 800-847-1362. That's 800-847-1362.
If you're struggling to pay or haven't been making your student loan payments, listen carefully to this urgent alert. Have you been out of school for 10 or more years and you're still making your student loan payments? Are your student loans past due or even in default? Can't go back to school because of an old student loan problem? We can help you if you qualify. Your student loans can be taken out of default. We can stop the wage garnishments, stop the collection calls, and stop the seizure of your tax refund. Give yourself a break. Stop the stress and see if we can help you reduce your student loan payments. One quick 10-minute call could solve them right now. So call the Student Loan Helpline now. 800-731-7534, 800-731-7534, 800-731-7534, 800-731-7534. This is a fee-based document preparation service to help you access free government programs. Call for complete details down below.
Hi, this is Sensei Joe, and you're listening to Glenda's Dragon's Den on Wild FM.
Hi, welcome back. This is Glenda Dawson, your host at Glenda's Dragon's Den. I just wanted to quickly give everybody a shout out. I love all the comments and all the questions. Whatever question we do not get to tonight, because this is a very intense and very informative segment and show, we will be answering later on in chat, after the show's over. LD, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, I'm really enjoying the Glenda sandwich that is being created between two Larrys here, but
there's always a Glenda between two Larrys. It's like an unspoken cosmic law.
Hold the onions.
Again, I'm apologizing in
Cosmic
advance.
But we're going to give everyone information if they're in the vicinity on actually how to experience one of the fire ceremonies that Larry conducts, as well as how to get a hold of him for whatever shamanic needs you might have. But my little shaman has her practice, and the way to avail yourself of direct contact and get an idea of some of the specifics that she delves into is to go to glendasdragonsden.com and toggle the Glenda's Magical Creations button, and that will totally push me out of the picture.
Yes, you could finally get rid of him.
And get you into direct contact with Glenda, some of her services, or if you have specific questions, Glenda's Magical Creations from the glendasdragonsden.com. There's also our non-lethal defense and products through Force to be Reckoned With. That's another button at glendasdragonsden.com. For those people who feel a little less confident out on the street, we even have a product that you can fly with if you're going to a different location. So that's the Force to be Reckoned With button. The aromatherapy line that Glenda's chosen and uses herself is doTERRA, and that's another button at glendasdragonsden.com. And again, you can ask her if you have any questions about what to use, but we choose doTERRA because it's the Cadillac of aromatherapy. You know, there's a lot of different ways to do that, but this is a very tested, tried and true company that does really the highest quality for the public of aromatherapy products and ways to dispense them. And then there's the CTFO button for Glenda's CBD oil products, which Glenda uses herself. Glenda has lived her entire life in extraordinarily excruciating pain, and the CTFO products have helped alleviate the pain from that and some of the other illnesses that Glenda manages with the CTFO products. The CBD oil, again, is extremely pure and highly tested, and the products themselves come with a 60-day empty bottle guarantee, because CBD oil takes time to resolve what it can resolve before it necessarily addresses what you thought you were using it for. It doesn't always immediately affect what you bought it to affect. So that company carries a 60-day empty bottle guarantee. And, you know, if you have any questions, again, feel free to ask Glenda. And I'm going to ask Glenda. Glenda, where are we going with the rest of the show?
Back to the subject.
Oh, darn, and I was doing so well with derailing
And
it.
guys, I tried the CBD oil. It works great on many things. It doesn't work on getting rid of him. I know. It's terrible.
I didn't realize that was an intention.
It is terrible, I know. But everything else, it will work on.
I love you too, Pookie.
So, welcome back. I know, you have so many things going through your mind right now. You just can't say. But, so, you had started in the first segment telling us a little bit, and I want to kind of redirect the conversation back to the very beginning of the show, so we could get back sort of a whole picture.
Okay, Mamacita, I go sleep now.
So we could get back
Larry,
to
back in your cage. You're done now.
Yes, we do have a way of creating our own reality.
Yes, we
and
do.
it manifests around us based on the energy we put out there.
Yes.
Glenda, he's your fault.
Well, you know, yeah, he's a twin flame, so unfortunately.
Yeah, it actually goes a little higher than her pay grade.
Yeah. I kind of wish that it was, no, joking. But creating our own reality. A lot of people may not really understand that. So I'm giving you the floor so you could explain it, so they could understand it.
Okay. Our brain has evolved over millions of years. And it's layered upon itself. So if you think of it very basically, at the root we have the brain stem, which takes care of all of our impulse, breathing, heartbeat, you know, basic functioning. Above that, we have what I will refer to as our reptilian brain, our most primitive brain.
Okay.
It takes care of very basic instincts, fight or flight, fear,
Right.
Keeping you alive.
Mm-hmm.
Above that, you start getting more into your mammalian brain.
Mm-hmm.
Caring, compassion. And up front, we have our higher brain function.
Right.
And most of us spend very little time functioning at higher brain levels.
Mm-hmm.
We tend to function off of very root-based instincts.
Right.
Now, our language,
Mm-hmm.
since I know LD is fond of language, our language tends to impact on how we think about things.
Right.
If I'm going to speak in public, I would just die.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that base reptilian part of your brain actually hears that you're going to die and believes it.
Mm-hmm.
So your adrenaline goes up, your heart rate goes up, you start getting more and more nervous,
And that, ladies and gentlemen, is general anxiety disorder.
Uh-huh.
and we respond accordingly.
Right.
As we begin to say to ourselves, I'm not going to die.
Mm-hmm.
I might be uncomfortable, but I'm not going to die doing this.
Right.
Our personality changes, our posture changes, we're more relaxed, we're more comfortable, and it's easier to begin to go ahead and move through and do things.
Exactly.
Fear is not our friend.
Mm-hmm.
The things we experience are things that we look at that trigger things within us, so that the world around us tends to be a giant mirror of how we feel internally, and we see it being reflected back to us from the other people around us.
Mm-hmm.
Perception is projection.
Perception is projection.
Yeah.
Now, our brain, with all of its intricacies, also cannot tell the difference between a dream or a fantasy
Mm-hmm.
and reality.
Right.
If you have a nightmare and you wake up from falling or from somebody breaking in or from some scary nightmare,
Right.
your brain has no idea whether that event actually happened or not.
There's been so many times where I wake up pissed at my boyfriend. I'm like, where is he? That was not real. I'm like, I have to sit there and focus. I'm like, that was a dream. You were sleeping. You see that watch? It said you were asleep. That was a deep REM cycle. He didn't do it, whatever it was.
Now, if we take you on a guided journey,
Mm-hmm.
or you have a dream where the things that didn't work out right, and the things that you carry forward that have been problematic happen differently,
Mm-hmm.
or where, okay, you are feeling loved and cared for instead of abandoned and mistreated, where you are feeling part of and included. Those feelings are equally as real as the feelings that most people walk around carrying with them.
Oh, yeah.
But it's harder to control that person.
It is harder to control that person, but it's easier for them to control themselves and not be triggered all day long.
Exactly. And that's why society is fear-based, because that's how we get the rats in the cage.
But the shamanic healing process is about journeying and guided journeys and working with spirit to replace the heavy energy that we pick up and accumulate through our life, and to let that go, keep its gifts, and replace it with the positive love and light energy.
Right.
So if we are focused on, well, I'll use me for an example. Growing up, I felt very outcast, very alone, very isolated. I never really fit in.
Right.
And I carried that feeling with me every time I meet people, that I wasn't going to fit in, that I was going to be made fun of, and that I was going to be an outcast.
Right.
And what ended up happening? Everywhere I went,
Yeah.
I didn't fit in. I was an outcast.
Right.
And even when somebody tried to reach out to me
Right.
and show me affection or show me caring, I couldn't accept it because I wasn't open to feeling like I fit in.
Right.
We're not worthy.
When you begin to let those instances go, where you begin to see yourself being held and cared for, even if it is just by the divine or by Mother Earth or by a tree or an animal, and you start to develop those relationships and open up your heart and begin to allow others to care for you, you then walk into a room and it's like, well, of course I'm accepted. They all love me. Why wouldn't they?
Right.
And it changes the way you're received in the room,
Right.
which changes your experience.
Right. The energy that you're carrying in makes a big difference.
And enters way before you do.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
And the same type of thing applies across all spectrums of all disorders.
Yep.
And it used to be everyone felt if you had a physical disorder, it was solely something in your body wasn't right.
Right.
And then they started to realize that our emotional body impacts our physical body, so that our emotional state...
I'm really glad the science finally caught up with what people are actually experiencing.
Isn't that wonderful?
Yeah. It's like, when you're having a panic attack, it feels like you're being electrocuted. It hurts a lot. You think you're going to die.
So now we know our emotional states impact our physical states. Well, in Chinese medicine and in many traditions of shamanic healing, what ends up happening is outside of your emotional state, you have an energy body. You have your meridians and your energy centers and chakras, power centers, whatever names you want to give to them.
Exactly.
You have the energy centers around your body, and as they begin to get clogged and stagnant and don't flow well, we begin to feel that emotionally.
Yes.
So that we feel stuck.
Yep.
We feel disconnected. We feel out of step. And as we start to feel that emotionally, it then filters down and affects us physically as well. And there's a time delay there. So that if you clear things at the energetic level, they don't manifest into the emotional level, and they don't manifest into the physical level. So you can clear those blockages before they end up occurring.
Right.
You can also clear them after the fact, because we don't all work in linear time.
Right.
If you believe in spirit, then spirit is capable of traveling.
Sometimes time just stretches out for me. It's like, wow, that day took 5 years. And then a month goes by, I'm like, but it's been 5 minutes.
Yeah.
What? No.
There's no time.
One of Einstein's theories, I believe, is that linear time is a man-made construct.
Linear time is a man-made construct, and we are the perceivers of that time.
Yes.
Now, if you step outside of linear time, you end up in either circular time or infinite time.
Right.
Now, it doesn't take long to go back in circular time, because somebody speaks to you the way your mother did, and you're instantly transported back to being a kid.
Right.
You smell something and it instantly reminds you of your grandmother, and you're back there in time almost immediately.
Right.
So we end up going on quick momentary flashes back and forth in time. And it's taking those moments to expand that window and fix the things that you want to fix.
Okay.
So one of the things is, somebody told me, a client came in, and they had lost a child. And they had not spoken to that child now in 20 years since they had passed.
Right.
And they had a lot of stuff that needed to be said. Well, why don't you say them? She's right there listening.
Yep.
All you need to do is speak it. And that's a life-changing event, is being given that opportunity to go back in time and speak to that person. Now, how do you go back in time? The same way you smell cookies and it takes you back to grandmother.
Yeah.
We're already there. We open windows. We open small little spots, little holes, and we expand them out to take the opportunity that they present to interact in ways that are beneficial.
But we've been taught that we need permission to self-focus. So a lot of people don't give themselves that permission to go and do that.
And that's not always a bad thing, because in the context I'm talking about it, we're talking about ceremony, we're talking about creating something that is sacred and something that is special.
Right.
So we don't want to do it willy-nilly. We want to do it in a structured, organized way. We want to do it in a sacred way. And
Psychodrama is very important.
we want to do it in a safe way.
Right.
Because if you're journeying and you're opening up portals to travel to places, you don't want to leave your own vessel, your own body, as a uninhabited, empty vessel with the doors unlocked and the windows open. Because you don't know what you're inviting in.
If you want to time travel, use a buddy system.
Use a buddy system. Have a map. Know where
Maps are
you are
good.
going and the checkpoints along the way.
And the universe abhors a perfect vacuum. So if you create that vacuum, you're basically leaving that window of opportunity open
For something else to come in and be present.
Right.
So we want to journey safely. We want to journey in a practiced way. We want to stay on our map. And when we journey, there are aspects of ourselves that aren't supposed to go everywhere. So there are certain things you want to leave behind here if you journey into the past. And there are certain things you want to leave in the past and not bring back with you. So you need a filter or a sieve to sift through what needs to be, what's okay to be brought and what needs to be left behind. And that's where spirit guides and power animals come in very helpful as being that filter for us, that guide to assist us in our journeys. So that as we experience different states, we're not just accepting whatever comes back with us. We're only accepting those things that are within our highest and best self, those things that help fulfill the purpose of our soul and serve a higher purpose.
Right. For our greatest good. That's very good. Now, a person comes to you and they're looking to better themselves. They're looking to heal in whatever shape or form. How do you determine what kind or type of healing? I mean, is there only one type per se, or do you help them in different tools? What tools do you use, I guess it would be?
I have a very broad practice,
Right.
and I address numerous different issues. So it becomes, what is it that the person is trying to release or to call in, and how to best go about doing that. So if what they're carrying is something that they picked up along the way that is not native to them,
Right.
then we may do an extraction process where we remove that energy, whether it is an inanimate or adamant
Whatever,
energy.
right.
If it's no longer serving them, that energy can be removed and disposed of or released. And there are many different techniques I use for doing that. If the person is struggling because of soul loss,
Right.
we do a process called a soul retrieval, because in times of crisis, parts of ourselves tend to flee to safety.
Right.
And in order to bring those parts back, the process of bringing them back is actually relatively simple and straightforward. You go on a journey, you find the soul part, and you bring it back.
Right.
The hard part is creating an area where that soul part, upon return, is going to feel safe and secure and well cared for.
And wants to stay.
Right. Because if you scared it off once, okay, it recovers and it comes back.
Right.
You don't want to scare it off a second time or a third time.
Because it's definitely going to find a very good hiding place that you're not going to be able to find it.
So you want to do some work in preparing for the soul part to return. So generally we do a lot of cleansing, a lot of chakra balancing, a lot of energy flow work.
Okay.
In preparation for a soul retrieval.
Okay.
If it's a physical ailment, we may address the energy body. We may actually repair meridians, journey into the body and actually draw energy out of specific organs, or put energy into specific organs, strengthen the immune system. Our body grew itself.
Right.
It knows how to regrow itself. It's so busy wasting its energy on digesting the non-nutritional food that we eat, on processing all of the pollutants and toxins and other things in our environment, that it's overwhelmed at the beginning.
Right.
So I do get into some nutritional coaching. I do get into, some lifestyle changes that affect the way our body works, but it's stimulating our immune system to heal itself and decreasing the toxins and things that are draining the energy away from our body.
To give your body the opportunity to do what it really came to do.
Yes.
Right. Okay.
And isn't that why one of the concepts of mental health is that to continue to do the same thing and expect different results is kind of counterproductive?
It is, and to continue, when you look, the term mental health cannot be separated from physical health. It cannot be separated from nutritional health. Most of the serotonin in our body is created by our gut. So if we're not eating properly, we're not creating the serotonin, we're not going to feel right to begin with.
Right.
So you end up, the medical community, it used to be, you go back 100 years ago, you'd see a doctor, and he saw everybody in the village and he treated them from head to toe. And then we got into specialists. And now you have a specialist for everything.
Yes.
And even when you go to alternative medicine now, you have people who work specifically with vibrational sound healing, acupuncture, tarot reading, divination, any of the, it's all been broken out into all of these different specialties.
Right.
The school I went through is you deal with your client from birth until death, from every aspect of their life and anything that is or could possibly go wrong with them. So, depending on what somebody's coming in with, if I don't ask them how they sleep at night or how they eat or what their love life is like or how they're feeling physically and what medications they're taking, how can I possibly help them to run a marathon?
And if you don't balance all of the planes of existence that we simultaneously exist on, then you're never going to be able to help people to center and perceive and embrace things from the center perspective as opposed to the skewed perspective that they come in with.
Correct. And I love the word balance. It's something I use very frequently in my practice. And when you look at someone who is off balance, the first thing they do is they grab for something to steady themselves. And in reaching for something to steady yourself, you're reaching beyond the center point too far the other way.
What I call the skewed perspective.
The skewed perspective. So that if you have somebody who is out of balance, they have that skewed perspective, always looking too far askew in order to find balance within themselves.
Right.
As they come more into balance, they're no longer looking for anything else to steady themselves. They can now set their own path.
Mm-hmm. It's kind of the same way as I was trained by my mentors, where
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
I was trained by my mentors the same way, using all of my gifts and all of my abilities, unified to help the client in whatever way they need it. Because, you know, a lot of people say, oh, you should do Reiki. I'm like, no. It may look like I'm doing just Reiki, but I'm actually doing all the other types of energy healing and perspective and everything combined. It isn't just you get on the table and I'm putting my hands over you and just giving you energy. There's a lot of different other things that go into it. My intuitive side, I hear what the client's higher self is telling me, because the client may be saying, oh, I eat very well, and the higher self is saying, no, they don't. They're eating every single day tons and tons of candy and potato chips and this and that. And I'm like, well, what exactly do you call healthy? And that's where I start, because healthy is also very perspective, you know, something that some people may think eating cakes is great because it has milk, it has this, and you know, so I too combine all the different things in the same way you do, and which is, I think, the proper way to do it. I have not really met too many people, thankfully, that only do one thing, even though they're capable to using their other gifts or their other abilities. Most of the people I've known or have met actually combined, because they know you cannot just treat one thing. And how can you treat the emotional side if you don't know what's really happening? How can you treat their mental side if you don't know what the emotional and their physical environment is even?
The other thing, and you probably find this a lot in your practice too, that I find amazing is I very rarely, if ever, end up working on what the client came in saying was their problem. Because they almost inevitably come in and they say, oh yeah, my problem is, you know, I don't sleep at night. And then you start talking to them about what they're up thinking about at night, or, you know, and when was the last time they did sleep well? And you find out that none of it has to do with sleep. It has to do with the thing that's been keeping them up at night for 20 years.
Exactly. It's something that happened 20 years ago that they're still thinking about, even if it's not right here in the forefront. It's just going through their brain and going back and forth. And instead of just trying to let that go, so then they could actually say, okay, weight's been lifted, I could sleep, or I could function, or whatever the case may be. Yes, definitely. Now, sound healing and despacho ceremonies. I love despacho ceremonies.
Okay. Despacho ceremonies are a Andean prayer bundle.
Right.
And you use a home selection of different items that represent different things.
Right.
Usually they have a lot of fresh flowers, lots of sugar and chocolate, because Mother Earth likes sugar and chocolate. All of the good spirits always love sweets.
That explains everything.
And you put your intentions into creating this beautiful prayer bundle addressing all aspects of life.
Right.
And there are probably 300 or 400 different types of despachos. There are despachos for a new baby. There are despachos for a new house. There are despachos for balance. There are despachos for releasing things. And very often we do an Aini despacho, which Aini is a Quechua word for right relationship. It's bringing things into that balance point.
Okay.
So we load it up with all kinds of things. And we run it through your energy field so that it can absorb the energy that's too much, that needs to be reduced, and it can add to the energy that's too little and needs to be elevated, and bring your energy field into balance.
There we are at balance again.
And then the entire bundle
Right.
gets burned
Right.
in a sacred fire. And the reason we use fire is it allows for rapid transformation.
Right.
Instantaneous transformation. There are some despachos we bury, and then they're going to take effect over a long period of time as the despacho slowly is consumed by the earth.
Right.
There are some we offer into flowing water, and that they are slowly, once again, carried away and recycled.
Right.
But fire is most often used because it's that fast, instantaneous transformation. And that's what we're looking for in many situations.
Right.
Despacho ceremonies, the more aspects you bring in, the more offerings you put into the bundle, the longer the ceremony takes.
Right.
It typically, I end up with somewhere between 30 and 40 ingredients in a despacho.
Okay.
And it's quite a drawn-out bundle. And to get the intentions right, it's usually, for me, not the first procedure I'll do with someone.
Right.
I'll usually do a basic cleansing,
Right.
chakra balancing, getting their field more open
Right.
to the process before I do a despacho ceremony.
Okay. Okay, that sounds very interesting.
Sound healing was your other
Yes,
question.
yes. We are going to stop for a second. We're going to take a commercial break, and we'll be right back. Glenda's Dragon's Den.
No, don't stop.
Suffers from drug or alcohol addiction, now is the time to utilize your private health insurance PPO plan to receive up to $30,000 or more in substance abuse benefits so that you have low or no out-of-pocket costs. We quickly help you verify your health insurance coverage amounts for substance abuse treatment so you can prepare for immediate admittance to a medical detox or residential rehab treatment center now. Select from locations nationwide while receiving up to $30,000 or more in coverage through your private health insurance PPO plan if eligible. We are the National Treatment Network, the premier matching service available 24/7. We help you use your PPO private health insurance with low or no out-of-pocket costs.
Call now, 800-961-2480. 800-961-2480. 800-961-2480. 800-961-2480. That's 800-961-2480.
When I need a cut, I go to Diamond Cuts. Ain't no half cutting there. Oh, yeah. Woo! Man, at Diamond Cuts, their barbers got the freshest styles. Anything from fades, seasons, high tops, blowouts, shape-up, tape-ups, and much more. Their barbers can cut men, women, children, young and old. Stop by Diamond Cut at 144 Pocono Boulevard in Mount Pocono, PA. Or just call at 570-216-4912. Ain't no half cutting there, baby Paul. Yo, Stan, yo, Ant, yo, Black, yo, Light Skin, yo, E, where y'all at?
Looking?
Hey, this is Itzy Sweeney of New Morning Holistic Health Services, and you are tuned in to Glenda's Dragon's Den, where the wild and untamed meet on Wild FM.
Welcome back to Glenda's Dragon's Den. I'm Glenda, your host. And Larry, you had left off at sound healing.
Yeah. When we look at vibrational frequencies, since all sound is vibration,
Exactly.
many of the emotional states are very low frequency vibrations. So depression, guilt, shame are all very low vibrational frequencies.
Right.
And so many people have gotten so accustomed to functioning at lower vibrational frequencies, we want to elevate their vibrational frequency level to a higher state.
Okay.
And tuning forks or singing bowls are a very effective way of raising the resonance within the body
Right.
and elevating that state, which makes it easier to maintain a higher emotional state, a higher frequency.
Right.
So we do the work through tuning forks and bringing their frequency higher and higher. Now, it serves two useful purposes. One is it allows people to stay at a higher frequency for longer,
Right.
and they keep coming in for a tune-up, making sure they're properly, if they start feeling like they're declining in frequency. The other thing is many of the energies that we find to be intrusive
Right.
feed off of those lower vibrational frequencies.
Yes, they do.
And those lower vibrational frequencies tend to call in those types of energies.
Yep.
By raising the frequency or using sound healing, we can actually sour the milk
Yes.
so that there's no longer a food source left for those entities to feed off of, and they end up going elsewhere.
Right.
So it serves two purposes. It helps keep us clean,
Yeah.
and it also keeps us elevated.
I love sound healing. I really do.
I can't hear you.
I love sound healing. I really do.
Oh.
God dear Lord. I have a headache besides him, people.
Sounds like?
So now, do you find yourself doing the sound healing more or less or equal to all the other ones, all the other types of healing?
When I had started first getting involved in sound healing, I was doing individual sessions that were only sound healing.
Right.
I don't do that very often anymore.
Right.
It has almost become another tool in my tool bag that gets intertwined with all the other stuff I do.
Right.
No two sessions ever look anything alike with any given client,
Right.
but more and more of my sessions have some aspect of sound healing involved in them, just because I find people either need that little boost
Yes.
to help get them through the rest of the week.
Yeah, and not only that, I think it's just that
What?
when you hear it,
Huh?
lower him.
No, no.
When you hear it, when you actually use your ear, you just become, your soul gets happy.
Yeah.
Your soul just finds a balance and an effective way to then be able to find its center and help the rest of the body.
Yeah. I always think of when you see a singer warming up before they sing, and they always need somebody to hit that note on the
Right.
piano, so they find the bass line, so
Yes.
they know what an F
Right.
is before they sing.
Exactly.
I need to know what that vibrational frequency that I'm supposed to be at is, and keep that as a baseline, so that as I begin to maybe wander further afield from that,
Right.
I recognize that I'm off,
Right.
and I can self-correct.
Exactly.
Now, when we met, it was at a fire ceremony.
Yes, it was.
And one of the things that we did continually was chanting. How does that tie in with the sound healing?
Chanting at times can be part of sound healing. I alluded earlier, I believe, to the concept of bone singing.
Right.
There are also ikaros, which are sung prayers that are being offered. The chant that we do during fire ceremony is a prayer, but it is used in this case more to quiet the monkey mind.
Mm-hmm.
It is to get us focused and centered and allow our mind to zone out on a very short, easy, repetitive chant.
Right.
And it helps create that ceremonial space.
Nice.
So you were trying to twig me.
There was no deception involved. It was merely a tool.
Yes, it's a tool.
One of many tools in the bag, along with rattles and drums and other things, to help quiet and focus
the monkey mind.
The monkey mind,
Yes.
so that the heart mind can truly begin to come forward.
Right. Now, when is your next fire ceremony?
Okay. I do a fire ceremony within a few days of the full moon.
Right.
And I time it to the full moon, not because of any significance of the full moon
Right.
to the ceremony. Just it's a nice regular rhythm of about 28 days, which to me is about the right length of time
Right.
between ceremonies.
Mm-hmm.
And the fire ceremony I do is based on releasing things that no longer serve you and need to be released and offering them to the fire.
Right.
And calling in what you want to bring in for the coming month.
Mm-hmm.
So it's an opportunity to step out of regular time,
Right.
linear time, step into sacred time, and to let go of what you need to let go of and call in what you need to call in. And I initially started doing these ceremonies alone for myself,
Right.
once a month. And I realized that it was no more trouble to do it for several people than it was to do it alone. I was still building the fire. I was still standing out there and chanting
Right.
and rattling for the same length of time.
Right.
That I would open it up and invite others to come. The added benefit of that is that I now have an opportunity of, instead of just letting my intention be heard by spirit,
Right.
at the end of the ceremony, we also pass a talking stick.
Right.
So that everybody has an opportunity to voice whatever intention they would like to have witnessed by others. Because some intentions aren't enough to just be said, they need to be witnessed.
Right.
And the beautiful gift of having two human ears to listen without judgment, without interpretation, but just to be a sacred witness for someone really has added a beautiful aspect to the ceremony that I'm very grateful for.
And do you find that that helps hold the space and forward accountability?
For me, it does.
Yes. I can see that happening, yes.
I think most of the lies we tell to ourselves. So that by having someone else there for me to be accountable to helps hold me to my integrity.
Yeah, there you go.
You know, when I would practice, my money question, as I called it, would be, because I wound up working with a lot of healing facilitators. Well, what would you tell a client that said that?
I would tell the clients to continue being accountable for what they do to themselves.
You need to tell it to the microphone now.
Yes, I know. You need to pick up my voice. You know I have a very...
But you need to at least get in the direction of it.
Hello, how are you?
That's good. Keep going. So what would you tell the client?
I would tell the client to make sure that they're accountable to themselves. And by sharing in that circle, they're really becoming part of a whole unit. And by becoming a part of a whole unit, makes you then think, oh wait, I did ask for this, and I have witnesses, so I really should be wording my requests and my statements properly, so the universe actually understands what I really want. Not that I say I want a red car, and then I get a red car, but it's in the junkyard.
Yeah.
Okay. So that is the way I perceive it. You know, but everybody perceives it differently.
I would say that we are all constantly pushing our own boundaries, so that we're all constantly treading in new territories, walking a new way.
Right.
And that in getting accustomed to our new ways, we may need to fake it until we make it. We may need to act as if for a little while until that pattern becomes normal for us. And that's okay. Because, let's face it, we develop a bad habit in about 3 minutes. And it takes months to develop a good habit to replace it. So if for during that period of time, I'm not eating jelly beans because I told LD I wasn't going to eat jelly beans, thank you for your support, because by me saying that out loud to you is helping to motivate me.
Right.
Hopefully, in a short period of time, I don't need that crutch anymore, and I can own it and be responsible for it on my own.
Right.
But we support one another in ceremony and in community, and if others need support, I'm happy to step up for that role. And it becomes easier each time we do it.
Very good.
Well, thank you for creating that safe space.
Yes.
And holding it for people who benefit from that support. And from having experienced the fire ceremony and setting the intention to continue to join you when you hold that space. The last one I think was on a Sunday, and we were here. And as we tried to make it over there, we were challenged by a number of different things that gave us the understanding that it was not our place to be there, but we do set that intention to come and let us make everyone aware who's in that vicinity that it's a wonderful place to let things go.
Yes.
And set the intention to bring things in. How do we find you?
Yes.
The easiest way to find me is you can visit my website, which is PAShamanichealing.com.
And we will post that.
Right, we will post that in the chat room. You also have Facebook, don't you?
I'm also on Facebook at Healing Shaman.
Right.
Or you can search for me by name on Facebook and get to my page that way.
Exactly. So there's a lot of ways, people. No excuses. None whatsoever.
But I'm comfortable with my excuse.
Well,
There's
get
no
out of your own
excuses.
way.
Good
As
advice.
I say, get out of your own way. So I do want to take this time to thank you very much. This is great show and a lot of good information. And what I like most about how different we work, but yet we really don't.
We work exactly the same way. We just come with a different toolbox.
Yep, they just want to brand name us differently. That's all it is.
Many paths, one true.
Right.
Ashley,
Yes.
where do people find you other than this show?
On Thursdays, you can find me on Twitch or on the Wild FM website, wyld.fm. Our Twitch channel is also streamed on there as well. Twitch is a video game sort of streaming platform. You can watch people play video games or just be weird and nerdy. Show's called Geeked Out. The channel is called Geeked Out Squad, G33KD0UT Squad, spelled like a normal person. And we just talk about anime and video games for 2 hours. And whatever strikes our fancy. Maybe we'll talk about comic books. Maybe we'll talk about Star Trek. Maybe we'll talk about Star Wars. It gets nerdy. Real quick.
Real quick.
Real quick.
And for those that missed you on the 27th, you are available on GlendasDragonsDen.com. Toggle the Glenda's Magical Creations, and there you are.
And also, Glenda's email is right up there underneath the title Glenda's Dragons Den. So questions, email Glenda at GlendasMagicalCreations.com. Don't put the exclamation points in the email. Don't be silly. Don't be that person. You know what I'm talking about. Yeah, you. You over there. Not you, the other one. Don't put the exclamation points in Gmail. That's not part of the email.
Alrighty, now I do have a little announcement and surprise.
Uh-oh.
I expanded.
You expanded?
Yes.
Like the universe?
Kinda. I have now an actual center, as I call it.
Uh-oh.
I have an office for private sessions, one-on-one sessions.
Okay.
And then I have an office right across the hall. So it's Suite A or Suite G and Suite A, whichever way you want to look at
Suite
it.
GA.
Yes. So anyway, and the other one is almost finished because we're doing special designs on the walls and the whole thing. And by next weekend or a couple of days, it should be completely ready. That's where we're doing our group sessions.
So it's not going to be as much of a cuddle po as it
It's
normally
not
is?
going to be, unless everybody wants to cuddle, then we'll go back to the little tiny one. But I do want to thank you, Larry, again. Thank you, Ashley, for such a great show.
You're welcome.
And the next show.
And the next show.
It's a mystery.
What? It's a mystery.
It's a mystery
I want
show.
to spread that out during the week.
Okay.
Yes.
So we are hopeful that our guest is going to be available.
Oh no, the guest is available, but we both determined that it's best to wait to say. Yes, it's the mystery. So you have to stay tuned. You have to pay attention to my postings.
Yes.
Yes, you can't just fly by.
Your postings where?
On Facebook.
Where?
On Meetup. On
Glenda's Dragons Den on Facebook.
Yes, and I'm at Glenda's Magical Creations, and on my page, on my own wall, and then...
Your own wall?
Yes.
What wall is that?
Glenda Dawson.
Ah!
Again, wow. It's going to go right in the back, and in the front it's going to say, I apologize in advance.
Guys, if you think Larry can be fun on the radio, just imagine sitting next to him and you can't get rid of him. The fun doesn't end. It just keeps going.
LD, let's not confuse the two here. LD.
L Dizzle. L Dizzle.
L to the D.
Wow. On that note, thank you, everyone. Hope you have a blessed week. We'll see you all next week. Right here at Glenda's Dragons Den.
Night, everyone.
That's all, folks.
Blessings.